And maybe that gave Rob, James, and Jim time to finish up their last session. As I was saying when my lips were moving, it really was a great discussion on human behavior approaches to security and some best practice for adaptive trust and using analytics to make better risk-based decisions. Those will be available on demand for next week. But I'm excited for this session and closing out today with Nick Pop. And I want to thank everybody, including all of our speakers and those tuning in today for joining us. And if you haven't, ForcePoint will be donating $10 for attendees for their charity of choice, which is really amazing. There's a link in the lobby to choose which charity you'd like to donate to. So please take advantage of that. It's really a tremendous gesture. And the site will remain open. So if you haven't checked out the virtual exhibit hall and those demos, they'll be open, I believe, until 1 today. So please take the time to do that. And then finally, the last housekeeping item I'll check is that if you have or have not been playing along with our interactive game, there are a few more questions that you can answer and be entered into a drawing for a $15 DoorDash. So if you see a question pop up, answer it. And if you answer it correctly, you'll get included in the raffle. So with that, let's get to the main event and our closing keynote speaker, Nico Pop. Nico is the Chief Product Officer at ForcePoint. He oversees the global execution and strategic evolution of ForcePoint's human-centric cloud security platform. He spent his career leading data and cloud securing engineering teams and holds over 30 patents, which is tremendous and amazing. So Nico, thank you for joining us and bringing us home today. So the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, James. Good morning. Actually, good afternoon, everyone. So I know I am the last obstacle between you and lunch. So I promise I will be as brief as I can be. And so here we go. James, you're seeing my slides? Good to go? I think we are.
Yes, sir. I see them.
All right, very good. So I wanted to do something a little bit lighter to finish the day today. I do want to talk about the top 10 cybersecurity trends post the pandemic crisis, right? Post COVID-19. Now, I'm going to do it in a different style than I would usually do. If you're a millennial, you have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm going to do it. I want to do an imitation of David Letterman. So I'm going to do the top 10. I would emphasize this is probably the first time in the history of the world that a Frenchman will try to imitate David Letterman. Hopefully, it will also be the last one. Okay, so here we go. Let's try to do this. So trend number one, I think that's the big one, but it's also the obvious one, right? The hardware is dead. Long live the cloud. Obviously, when everybody's at home, including your staff, very difficult to change the network, very difficult to push new appliances. So the cloud is the obvious solution in terms of the delivery of cybersecurity, right? How do I know? I'm also American, so there's only one truth in America. It's called the stock market. So what I did, I created the Nico index, and I compared the cybersecurity company that are cloud-based versus the more traditional one, right? So the CrowdStrike, Zscaler versus the more software box-centric Juniper, Cisco, Palo Alto. And you can see that the story is very clear. The Nico index is overperforming the traditional cyber vendor by an order of magnitude, right? 3 to 8 times. So truth is in the market, the best predictor. So you know what that means. So there's actually a consequence of that, is that the VC money is basically actually now going to a lot to cyber, but they are barely investing into software anymore. They are going to be investing into cyber cloud security, right? So cloud delivery. That's important because what it means to you is that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Years ago, 5 years ago already, I was sitting with a very smart person from JPMC, and I heard something very profound that has never been truer than today. He told me, Nico, we have to go to cloud when it comes to security. And this is not because, we need to, we can afford, CapEx when we have to move to OpEx. It is not because we cannot recruit the talent. We can attract anybody. We're a great brand. The reality is we have to move to cloud because cyber is about innovation, right? The bad guys are evolving, so the solution have to evolve. And the innovation now is 100% in the cloud. If we don't go to the cloud, we will not be effective. We will lose our edge. So I thought that was very profound. And so if you think of the new reality for cyber is that the future of cyber is going to be cloud. The future of cyber is as a service. Okay, that was number one. Number two is cyber is hotter and cooler than ever. What does it mean? Well, I talk to a lot of CISOs and CIO in my line of work, and there's a general feeling that the transition to working from home was very, very successful. And because of that, really the image of IT and IT security within the C-suite has really tremendously improved because of the commitment and the success really of that transition. And despite really the crisis behind the curtain. So the other thing that happened is because of that shift and all the events, the physical events being canceled, the boards have realized that they have to accelerate the transformation of the business, any business, to its digital form. Because of that, the CIO and the CISO function really have been elevated right at the board level, and so that contributes to cyber being hotter than ever. Which, by the way, what we also hear, and you can see the chart on the left that predict that the cybersecurity market should grow at 12% CAGR. What we hear constantly from our advisors is that they expect budget growth on the cyber side next year. Now, you got to caveat that with probably depends on the segment. You can imagine that the budget of United Airlines may not increase, but if you're in pharma, for example, that budget will be increased. So, cyber is hot, and, give yourself a pat on the back. You've arrived. You are now the new cool kids of IT if you're a cyber professional. That was number two. Let's go to number three. Number three, the bad guys have gone phishing. No surprise. Email is always and will always be the super highway of threats. Now, what's interesting is, it all started with, emails about the pandemic and, how you need to protect yourself. And now it's transitioned to the financial, to the economic crisis. You can see, click on that link if you think you're going to be paid for a big leave of absence. Please do not click on that link. Now, what's interesting is who's behind these emails. We're talking about not the script kiddies, but really the nation state, these sophisticated attackers, as well as organized crime, right? Really leveraging the pandemic and the crisis to do very highly targeted campaign. The other take-home point is that this is not just about credential harvesting, it's about malware and adverse persistent threat. You can see that a lot of it is to basically take over, compromise the machine, and then from there, lateral movement and all these good things. All right, so the take-home point is, if you think COVID-19 was about self-isolation, you have to think about web isolation. Advanced persistent threat defense techniques, whether it's sandboxing and really remote browser isolation, now are super critical. You got to look into it. All right, we're done with number three. Going to number four. Number four, the blues, the patching blues. Now, we all know that patching is very hard, right? You will saw these statistics. It takes 2 months for a Microsoft vulnerability in average to be patched. But look at something as big as WannaCry, right? Remember WannaCry 3 years ago, how it took the world by storm and surprise? Guess what? 3 years later, we still have 500,000 hosts that are subjects to Eternal Blue. Amazing, right? So really, what I wanted to tell you here is that you got a patch, doesn't go away, or maybe it's time to think different. We see a lot of interest for VDI, and of course, trusted thin client. I think you need, if you're not looking into that, you should, right? This is a better way to solve the patching blues. All right, I'm done with number 4. Number 5, the comeback kit. So that's interesting. We talk about how cloud is becoming a very important control point in a world where we work from home. But it's really what's really fundamental when people work from home, and if it's the new reality moving forward, which it will be, especially if you look at the rents in San Francisco, they're already diving minus 15% because people anticipate they'll be able to keep on working from home, right? Google, Facebook, all have announced, Twitter, you can work from home forever. So what's interesting is when people work from home, we actually lost the most important security control that we have, the network, the corporate network control, right? This is very profound. And it's been replaced with the home network. And we all know that home network, there's no hygiene. It's worse than bad. So because of that, right, guess who's making a comeback? Endpoint security, right? So endpoint security is super important. And although everybody thinks about cloud, it's not just cloud. It's going to be cloud and endpoint together, right? Of course, you have to think about EDR. That's the obvious one. But you know what? You want to know who really is the comeback kid, right? When I talk to CISOs, what is their top concern? It's not about EDR. It's about printing. You have all these functions. We're closing the quarter from home. We have the system administrators at home, right? People accessing, downloading confidential data at home. And we have no idea what they do with that data, right? Like printing. Printing at home has become a huge issue. So I know sometimes people think DLP is a 3-letter word, but sorry, you gotta have DLP on top of your mind. DLP on the endpoint has become of paramount importance. That was number 5. Are you ready for number 6? I'm sure you are. Number 6. Let's talk about identity. When I talk to my identity friends, they love the tagline, identity is the new perimeter. So of course, you have to deploy multi-factor authentication. No, it's not even a question. However, be careful, right? I've seen a lot of deployment of SMS-based authentication. And if there is something that is easy to spoof, that is something that prone to man-in-the-middle attack, this is a very weak form of strong authentication. It's not that strong. The other pitfall is the push. The push is very alluring because it's convenient for users to press a button and I'm in. Here's the advice. Never, ever, ever deploy push authentication to system administrators. What I've seen so many attacks where, I was busy, I saw a push, I pressed OK. I didn't realize that wasn't for me. And basically, then you had VPN compromise and all these good things. Very dangerous. Instead, and I think that's the future of identity, is think user entity behavioral analytics. Really, the non-spoofable factor, the next factor, especially when you're thinking continuous authentication authorization, passwordless strong authentication, is behavior, right? Behavior-defined identity. Tell me what to do or show me what to do, I will tell you who you are. So think UBA. 7. This one is very, very important. The rise of insider threat. That one you cannot ignore. It has to become top of mind. Why is insider threat rising? Again, we're working from home. So now we have these privileged access, these system administrator, these DevOps guy, right? These super users working from home. What else do we have? Well, we've got a dad working at home, and then, the ability for, sharing with, I'm sharing with my daughters and my son, and sometimes my daughter-in-law is here, right? We're working from the same network, right? So unauthorized user access to corporate device. That is actually becoming an increasing risk. But the biggest one, right? The biggest one is the insider threat. When you think about, health stress, economic stress, because people are worried about their economic future, this takes a toll on people. I don't know if you, let me tell you a story actually on insider threat that's so today. Have you heard the story of Christopher Dobbins? Christopher Dobbins basically was fired from his job in early March 2020. At the end of March, he received his last paycheck. Now, before he left, he created one more account in Active Directory. He created a super user, a system administrator. After he left, within a few days, he was let go. He came back into the corporate network, used the account that he created, and wiped out about 100,000 records, interrupting or canceling the delivery of much needed, PPEs, these precious masks that we all needed across America. And yet another example of the rise of insider threat. And, so the tagline here, if you have not looked into user activity monitoring, right, you have to. Because when people work from home, you have no idea what they're doing. And, you have to look into that. In fact, when you can read these things in the Wall Street Journal, that is a printout from 3 days ago, you realize that insider threat has been elevated to the top. 70% of the top Fortune 5,000 are looking into it. The bigger, the more targeted you will be. We all know the nation state now are pivoting to this type of attacks because they're so effective. All right, 7, the rise of insider threat. Number 8, goodbye VPN. Hello, zero trust network access, or as we call it at Force Point, private access. So what is it? Actually, why do we need ZTNA or zero trust network access? Well, think about it. The reason VPN doesn't cut it, first of all, is that, it's an all or nothing. Once you're on the VPN, you have access to the whole network, right? It's very coarse. There is no least access privilege. With ZTNA, you can actually grant access to a specific user to a specific application, and that's all, right? So it's much more precise in terms of access rights. The second is defense in depth. VPN is a network gear. It's not a security gear. Software-defined perimeter, a private access service will have all the security control, the AMD, the RBI, that the remote browser isolation I mentioned. It will have the cloud DLP. It will have a lot of security controls that you don't have at all into the VPN. So you get defense in depth when you move to that model. Number 3 is show me anybody, right, who told me, God, I love my VPN. I love it so much when I have to use the VPN to access an on-prem app. But even more than that, think about with the rise of SaaS application, we are creating that, that distorted user experience where you can use the browser for Office 365, where you do most of the work, but you have to use that VPN for the other apps. That doesn't work at all anymore. We have to unify that user experience into the browser. That's what ZTNA does. And then finally, you really you want to be careful. You really want that micro-segmentation. There's a lot of imitation out there where, oh yeah, I'll give you an SSL VPN, and that's, or a web proxy, and that's, that's ZTNA. No, it's not. You need the dark cloud, the application cloaking, the micro-segmentation. All right. The tagline is, be ready to kill your VPN. If you are not looking into private access, your trust network access, you owe it to yourself. Do it. Okay, and close. Number 9, the firewall moves to the cloud. All right. Well, it's not just web access that we need to authorize, we enable, right, from home, right? Think about ZTNA for system administrators. They have to run all these commands because they're working from home. So you have to go beyond the web. You have to look at all ports and protocol, right? Another example is DevOps, SREs, right? We need ZTNA for DevOps and SREs as well, right? Equally important. So when you look at a ZTNA, a private access solution, right, to replace your VPN, make sure it includes firewall as a service, right? Make sure that it covers all the ports and protocol, not just the web. And this is why it totally disqualifies my identity friends who think they can do zero trust access because they are doing web only. No, this is about network. Talk to your networking guys, not your identity guys. Putting a reverse proxy in the DMZ is not the way to do zero trust access. That's not what Google meant when they defined Beyond Call. Very good. You're ready for the last one. And you're almost ready for lunch as well. Number 10. All right, the world is becoming SASE. So I started with the cloud. I'm going to finish with the cloud. The cloud will absolutely win. Says who? Well, says Neil MacDonald. If you haven't met Neil, brilliant fellow from Gartner, came up with that secure access service edge concept. I always thought that, Gartner was jealous of Forrester. Forrester coined zero trust. And so they needed something. Well, they come up with something big because I think you can, everybody knows 9 months after the publication of that paper what SASE is. And everybody knows that this is the future of cyber, right? And so it's all about this big, heavy security stack. You can look at the acronyms on the right-hand side, moving to the cloud, as well as some of the, the network infrastructure. So all these things moving as a service. So what's the take-home point here? Well, it's my last one. So I'm going to give a very shameless plug for Forcepoint here because we are launching our SASE at the end of July. And I apologize, it should have been July 4th. That was the goal. But, engineers always need a little bit more time. So it's going to be the last day of July. And we're really excited because we're actually launching a complete SASE with 2 products, 2 bundles. And these 2 products together are really SASE, very holistic SASE. The cloud security gateway that basically cover all internet and web access. We're combining CASB, the SWG as a service. We'll include the DLP in the cloud and the advanced malware detection. The only thing you'll have to add on you'll need is RBI. And then we're also launching our private access or zero trust network access combined with the firewall as a service. Okay. I did say seamless, okay, but it was my last one. We think it's super competitive, and you haven't even seen the pricing, so I had to finish with that. I'm very, very, very excited about that launch coming. Yes, Forcepoint is going to be a powerful SASE platform. All right, it is time. It is time for lunch, and it is time for me to write it up. So, what have we learned? Cloud wins. Number 1. Cyber security rocks. You're the cool kids. Do not forget to isolate. Patch different VDI interested clients. You're printing from home. You need DLP on the endpoint. Strengthen, your access with UABA. Insider threat got to be top of mind. You cannot, you cannot forget about that one. Replace your VPN. The time has come. But make sure you include firewall as a service. And finally, SASE will drive cybersecurity. By the way, it will also drive the market consolidation. Such a segmented industry. Everybody complains about too many vendors. This is the beginning of the consolidation of cybersecurity. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. I really appreciate the opportunity. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to these trends. James, it's all yours.
Yeah, thank you. I think David Letterman would be very proud. But don't quit your day job at Forcepoint, because then you'll have to grow like a really big beard like David Letterman. So, but thank you. That was fantastic. And I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in today for Government at the Edge, Forcepoint Cybersecurity Leadership Virtual Summit. If you didn't get to visit, again, the demos, we're staying open for another half an hour or so. So check them out, grab a bite to eat, and use your time to do that and chat with a Forcepoint representative. A final reminder to keep an eye out on your email, along with session replays and event resources. We're going to be announcing the winners of our game via email if you're playing along. Also, if you didn't get a chance to put in your donation, please do so. Again, thank you, ForcePoint, for making that donation. It's a really tremendous thing that you guys are doing, and we appreciate it. And again, thank you for everybody, and we'll hope to see you next time. Have a great rest of your afternoon.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy.